Good morning and welcome. This is Cheche, the show where opinion counts, live on Citizen TV. I'm your host, Kamimo. Now, politics in Kenya has usually been an exclusive club. Its members are typically men, usually older, almost always with deep pockets. Groups like young people, women, and people with disabilities were seen as vote baskets, not political leaders. The 2010 Constitution attempted to change that through a prescription of quotas and seats for marginalized groups. But outside of those prescriptions, few are willing to contest in mainstream politics. We'll discuss that today with our guests because they have unique perspectives to share on this issue. Starting with Caroline Cheche, who would like to become the next senator of Kajiado and quite possibly the first elected female senator. Then we have Gladys Wanga, the Homa Bay women's representative, and finally Kinoti Gatobu, the Buri member of parliament. As always, we have the panel of Mutegin Jao and Charles Obiambo, both of Real Media Services. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you.
Hi. First, let's understand your stories as young parliamentarians. Caroline first, because you're aspiring while the others are already in parliament.
Yes.
What are you trying to achieve here?
Basically, I come from a community where there is a lot of patriarchism. And in 2013, I vied for the Member of County Assembly, and I came position 2. I really have a passion for my people. I grew up in Kajiado County, and there's a lot of development potential, but a lot of the leaders do not have a heart or transformational vision for the county. So I believe, right now as you speak, I'm the only aspirant who's vying to be the senator in Kajiado County. We have about 30 to 40 women who are vying for women representatives, so they do not understand that actually these other sets, women can too vie. In Kenya we have 47 governors male elected, 47 elected senators. When will we break the political ceiling for women? And also, I have come against so many odds vying, you know, my security, my well-being, my resources.
We'll get to that, but I want to understand why you think that politics is the best way for you to develop your county in Kenya.
Because I believe the values that I hold as a leader, I have integrity. I know I'm not getting there to get rich or to get power. I want to transform lives. I want to transform my county. I want to preserve the natural environment for my county. So I do have a vision for the heart of the people. Majority of Kajiado people actually do live in poverty, and there is underdevelopment in the county. So these are the things that I want to change. And I also want to show young people that women can make it. Young people can make. I'm a youth and I'm also female, so I want to break all those norms and actually let it be said that a young girl or a young lady fought a good fight and she actually maybe won the race. Yes.
When you say you're young, how old are you?
I'm not about I'm 34 years.
You're 34 years
so
old.
Still under 35. One more year.
You are still under 35.
Yes.
Okay, let's come to you then, Gladys. What attraction does, although I think you have a political background, but what attraction does political life hold for you?
Well, as you said correctly, Woodwork, I'm a politician by birth. So politics is my water in which I swim. I started this very early. I come from a political family. My father was a politician, so I moved into that, and then I moved into student politics at Kenyatta University. So for me, I think it's a calling. It's the place where I thrive. I can't see...
Politics is home.
Yeah. I can't see things go wrong and keep quiet. I can't see oppression and withstand it. So,
but you could be a lawyer, not a politician.
Yeah, so because I wasn't a lawyer, I am a politician, you know. And politics takes you to that place that law does not take, because law confines you to a courtroom. Politics takes you to the people and connects it with policy. So that, I think, is the difference. And
so you bridge that gap?
Yes. I think you meet the people, and that's really important. It's intense. You hear them. And then they give you a voice to speak it out, you know, where they couldn't reach themselves. And I think that's the satisfaction.
Kinoti?
Thank you, Dwak. First, I thank God for these opportunities to appear on Citizen again. As you said, I'm the youngest member of parliament in Kenya. I came in when I was only 25 years old. Mine was more of a journey of service. I just found myself in politics out of the passion to change the lives of my people. I come from a very humble family. In the constituency where I live now, my grandfather was a squatter. And through education, he was able to educate my parents, and they became teachers. And other sons and daughters of his were well up. So I felt I grew up very passionate in education, seeing what sons and daughters of a squatter could become through education. And I excelled quite well in my studies. I went to Cheche Primary School, went to Jarin Primary School, went to Kubwa High School, scored an A, went to University of Nairobi, did Bachelor of Commerce, and excelled and went to the Writers Bureau College in Britain. And having seen what education could do to my life, I went back in the village as a volunteer teacher. I felt I yearned to touch more lives through education. And I'd been a volunteer teacher for quite some time. I've done a lot of publications, and out of the sales of my publications, novels, and newspaper articles, I used to plow back 50% of my all my earnings to buy good revision books for the pupils. And I was amazed at what I was able to do. In fact, I remember in the last year of my being a volunteer teacher, I'll say one of my pupils came from a slum called Machaka and was admitted to Maranda High School. Back then, Maranda High School was the best school in the country. And I felt if I could achieve this as a volunteer teacher.
It was, yeah. I think it was 2010.
2010.
Yeah, it was the best.
It was the best school. And we won't ask why and how it was the best.
No, it was the best.
No.
The fact means it was the best. So I felt with a little more resources and more influence, I could do more for my people. And actually, it was more people-driven than myself. And I felt I ran for the Member of Parliament for Bori, which is the largest constituency in Meru. I came in as an independent candidate because I felt if people could identify with the values I stood for as a volunteer.
What values? Then
community service, love for God, love for people. That is basically my foundation of all the other values I hold dear. And if they could identify with that, then they end to vote me as independent. They don't have to love me or vote for me because I'm in a certain political party. So I stood by my principles and won by a landslide. Actually, I carried about 70% of the votes in Bori. And when I came into parliament, did a lot. I've doubled the number of hospitals in Bori within 4 years. I've directly employed over 2,000. And having seen that, this year I declared I'll run for the governor for Meru.
I think you're already campaigning, you're not answering my question. Look, so you all have interesting stories to tell. You want to serve. But I'll come to you, Caroline, in a moment, because your journey is slightly different because you're not yet in Parliament. What obstacles did you face in coming this far, Gladys?
I think the obstacles are huge. And today we're talking about
one as a lady and two as a young person, because you came in as a young person.
How old are you?
I'm 36.
36.
Yeah.
So you've crossed the threshold.
Yes, I did this year. I did this month actually.
Okay. Well, so happy belated birthday.
Thank you. I'm happy with the transition and to just move into the newer perspectives and newer heights. So yes, today we're talking about youth and women. So we're talking about what were the challenges as a young person and what were the challenges as a woman. So what were the challenges as a young woman? And I want to tell you I
think throw in one more. What was the challenge as somebody vying in a place you are married, not where you were born?
Exactly. Yeah, and that was the point I was coming
culture,
to.
Yeah.
Because one day as I was campaigning and my husband was with me, and a certain old man came and held him by the arm and pulled him aside and said, "How did you allow this young woman to go into politics? Don't you know that she's going to run away from you?" And I think that sort of summarizes it. People, first of all, I am in a new place. As a young woman, I have not been married very long. So I'm running in a county where I'm married, and I have not been married there very, very long. I'm running against probably someone who was born there and married there and has been there a long, long time and has huge networks. And just the fact that people view you as a stranger, and even sometimes even your own relatives are being introduced to you. I am so and so, I am so and so. So that novelty, was a challenge in itself. Of course, resources are a major challenge for young people running. I was a program manager in an NGO here. You don't earn that much. You don't earn enough money to go and put into politics. But on that, what I'd like to say is it was really inspiring to see what my own colleagues and friends at my level could do in terms of supporting my campaigns. I ran on donations. People just gave me 5,000. I sold my vision to them. I had what was called a vision launch. So I told them, this is what my plans are. I want to make a difference. This is where I'm called to. And they just came. And sometimes people think people have to give you 100,000 or 200,000 for you to run. No. People gave me 5,000, 10,000. When I had collected like 20 or 30,000, I would run to the village, you know, meet as many people as I could and come back, and the next week I would live on donations over and over. And so that was how I overcame the resource challenge. Of course, there's the challenge of discrimination and the insults that come with it. As a young woman, people view you as, I think, a sex object, or somebody who has to sleep their way into where you're going. So every man I associated with politically to advance my political agenda, it was quickly concluded that that was my boyfriend and the other one and the other one. And I think if you want to get discouraged by that, you would get discouraged and move out. Then you have a young family, like I had a young family and young children, and just to balance the time between paying attention to your own children, to your own husband, you know, and then paying attention to your politics, I think that remains a challenge to date. It is a very thin balancing, you know, it is a very sensitive balancing act as to how much time you give to your family, which is not a challenge for older women, for example. It is because older women, your children have gone to studies, they are in Daystar, they are in boarding schools, they are abroad, you know, so you have all the time to yourself. So, I mean, if I would stop at that, you know, in terms of just what the challenges are or have been.
If you were to divide the constituencies you represent in the sense of being a young person and being a woman, where do you feel that the challenge was greater, being a woman or being a young person? Or is that too difficult to divide to?
I think being a woman is a greater challenge
than youth.
Then youth then comes with attendant challenges, just as I have enumerated. You know, whether it's family or whether it's the amount of time you have spent, or whether it is resources. So, but being a woman is seen. You are immediately judged, you know, just by the fact that you're a woman. And then being young adds to this challenge.
What about the issue of location, geographical? If you suppose you're in an urban area, do you think it would be more difficult or easier?
I think in an urban area it would perhaps be, I wouldn't call it easier, but the challenges would be different in the sense that you wouldn't have to be dealing with who are your relatives here. You know, if you're running in Nairobi, surely you're just running. Nobody's anybody's relative here, or anybody's clan, or anybody's, you know, what have you. But in terms of resource intensity, you are definitely dealing with a bigger resource intensity in urban areas compared to rural settings.
The demand for the rural fewer.
The demand, the resource,
giving money.
Yes, the resource requirement in the rural area is smaller compared to in the urban area, because I think here people deal with you basically on, you know, what are you giving me? But you know, in the village, people can say, okay, this is our wife, let us support her. You know, that can be a factor. And then they can also say, this is our daughter, let us support her. You know, and then some will say, this is our grandchild, let us support her. So those factors can also propel you, which does not apply here. Here it's you and them and how you deal.
Would that be the same case in a cosmopolitan setup like, say, Kajiado, for example?
I wouldn't call...
not really urban, but... a big chunk of Kajiado, yes, I believe, is rural.
I come from Kajiado North, which is the urban part of Kajiado. In 2013, I remember when I decided to vie, I had no finances, but I totally believed in my calling, in my dream, and in my vision. I pitched my dream, and to be honest, I did raise a lot of funds. And I used those funds to work together, for instance, with Watu wa Mkokoteni, Watu wa Boda Boda. You know, you worked together with every Mashinani labor group possible. But still, I was called Kairetu, you know, I was called Kaschana, demarcated for where I was not allowed to ask for votes. Every day the CID, every day the CID would call to find out if I was okay, because every day I would have one threat or another. Goons would be hired to maybe destroy a project I made, or maybe be sent to cut off my legs. To be honest, as a youth, there is nothing I did not see. Till right now, as a senator, I am not fearful, because if I am still alive after 2013, and this is in a cosmopolitan urban area, there is no threat I would not see. You know, you go to the women and ask them for votes, and then they look at you head to toe and ask you, umesoma. You know, really trying
women.
Yes, my own fellow women. Yes. And it's really, it's societal, it's cultural bias. They don't, our society teaches us that if I'm a man in a suit, then I'm worthy a politician. But a young lady, who do you think you are? First, they have to take you through the fire. But I must say, I was spat on my face. There's nothing I did not go through. But I never went home and cried. The next weekend, I'd do a rally till my opponents would wonder, what is this girl made of? I fought till the very end. And to cut a long story short, I do not climb the same mountain twice, hence why, still in the same area, I am now going for senator. Everyone wants to find out, why are you going for this? And it's so difficult.
And yet you didn't make it.
And yet I did not make it. But you see, when you have a calling, like as Gladys said, there is nothing else I know how to do. Even my own family, there are those who are wondering, why are you being over-ambitious? But at the end of the day...
What do you mean there's nothing else you know how to do? What were you doing before you ran for MCA?
Before I ran for MCA, I worked in Congo in the middle of war, transforming lives of women who had been raped and helping child soldiers recover their lives, doing projects. So my background is project development, project management in development. So I'm used of working with the less fortunate, you know, communities that are most in need. I've worked on USAID projects in Garissa and Kitui. As you can clearly see, my background is really marginalized communities. So this is what I know how to do best. That is why I will go in the middle. Like 2 days ago, I was in Kajiado Central in a room filled with Maasai elders. They are speaking in Maasai. But me, myself, I stood up, asked them for their, you know, I told them I'm their child. I need your support. You have educated me. I need to come back and do what this county needs. If you move around Kajiado, Kajiado is a very big county, very transverse, but a lot of it is just bare. They need to be, and you know, why are we talking about, like,
sorry, let's go from one issue to the other because we're jumping all over the place. You referenced being in a room full of Maasai.
Yeah.
Is that because you yourself are not...
I'm Caroline Wamboi Cheche. So you must understand, I'm fighting tribe. I come from an urban area, I'm young, and I'm a woman. So there are so many things that I'm trying to fight at the same time. But I must say, this Maasai men from Kajiado Central, it was an elders meeting of the key elders of Kajiado Central. Do you know, they blessed me, and they did not show any, like, they have not accepted me. They gave me a warm reception, accepted me, and they actually told me to go ahead.
What language were you speaking to them?
I spoke to them in Swahili, but their meeting was actually in Ma. But you see, at the end of the day, if you have a vision for the people, you know...
I need to understand.
Let me...
You already feel you're not from the Maasai. You are a young lady.
Yes.
You're not as educated as it should be.
That is not what I feel. That is the reality.
So why did they bless you?
They blessed
if you already
me.
had that in mind.
They blessed me because they had my passion and the vision. When I sit and pitch for you why it is, I grew up there. This is my home. I don't know any other home. Kajiado is my home, you know. We can have different tribes and all this. It's the same reason why there's never been any, the first black American president was a Kenyan, right? In White House.
He's actually an American.
But at the end of the day, he's not truly, you wouldn't say the white people would call him an American, but he was born there, right?
I think you're on very thin ice. He was American. He takes exception to being told he's not American.
Yeah.
He grew up, yes, he was sired by a Kenyan father.
It's exactly the same way. My parents are Kikuyu, but I was born and raised in Kajiado. So Kajiado is the only home I know. This is the only place I am passionate about. It's the only place that I want to develop, and I really shared my heart with them. And that is why they gave me their blessings. Sometimes when people see the passion that you have of where you are, they accepted me as their own, despite all those odds. They accepted me as their own.
Okay. Yeah. Kinoti, the obstacles you face coming this far?
Thank you, Udwak. I think the challenge we have in Kenyan politics, especially for young people like me, is really not understanding the political landscape. I've discovered as a young leader that we are the greatest force in this country. The only problem we have as the young people of Kenya, be they women or men, is that we don't understand the political landscape. Now, any campaign is a strategy. Any campaign, you must be very strategic. You must know what are your strong points, what are your weak points. In any election, all you need are numbers. First, Kenyans, the majority are youths. As long as you understand we have the numbers, then we've won the war. Second, we have to understand what do people need. You know, like where I come from, voters are very rational, very, very rational, and extremely wise. They don't vote on a euphoria. They don't vote on a wave. They analyze people critically. For instance, out of the 9 MPs we have in Meru, One is independent, that is me. 2 are ODM, 4 are APK, 2 are APK and 4 are TNA. So it shows very clearly that these people don't look at the party you are in, they don't look at your age, they don't look at anything. So once you analyze the political landscape, you realize as young people we have the numbers. Resources don't matter. Let me emphasize this. Resources, as long as you can maintain the logistics, which is a very basic, the amount you need to maintain logistics in politics is very little. Just need a simple vehicle. I did my campaigns with a Probox and a very old Land Rover, KHN, a very old Land Rover, and I traversed the largest constituency in Meru, Bori, and I won by a landslide. So youths understand this. Whatever you see as obstacles in your aspiration to become a political leader are actually strength. The thing is, take the battle.
You're answering another question. What obstacles did you face?
Now, the main obstacles, I think the biggest obstacle is the mindset. The mindset of the people. If you can only change the mindset, don't fight. Don't fight. But when it goes to the ballot, they vote differently. When you go to the campaigns and ask them, what do you expect from a leader? They think differently.
What's the difference?
Don't fight in the areas where your enemies are comfortable with. Your opponents think they can crush you financially. Don't fight in that field. Just draw them to where people are unfamiliar territory. If they're using money to bribe voters, bring them onto issues, on the platform of issues. So that way you tackle the problem of...
So in terms of your own campaign in 2013 and the challenges you faced, it wasn't resource, because you're saying that you thought differently.
Yeah.
And you're saying that you also, it wasn't necessarily that you were facing well-established people.
Yeah. I was facing well-established people, from people who had been in politics for decades, people from very well-established political families, and in very established political parties as well.
Did you have people looking down on you because of your background?
Definitely. So
at what point, because you started by saying people in this area are very rational.
Yeah.
At what point are they rational? At the campaign point or at the voting point?
Now, it begins with the campaigns. If you can compete with your opponents on the platform of, let's say a political background, you lose. That will be an obstacle, definitely. If your opponents engage you on the platform of you're not from a political family, you're not well resourced, and then you entertain fighting along those lines, you definitely lose. So once you've lost in the campaigns, and people get convinced that this is an underdog and he can never win, then you lose all the way to the ballot. Now, once you see that obstacle and quickly turn it into an advantage, when they insult you that you are a youth and you can never win a political race.
Is being told a youth an insult?
It is. Because what they do, they turn it into an insult. Instead of them seeing it as a strength, for instance, immediately I came in, people said, this is a young man, he can never fight on his own, he's a project of a certain opponent. So they don't turn it into a strength. They use it as an insult against you. They say, you are a youth being used to break votes, but now I turn it into a strength and say, I'm a youth seeking to mobilize my fellow young people to change this constituency. So whatever obstacle I faced, and every other young person faces, it can easily turn it into an obstacle. If they say you have no resources to bribe voters, and they insult you, you're just a poor fella, just a dreaming Kenyan, you cannot achieve anything, quickly turn it to an advantage and say, yes, I don't have money to bribe you voters, but I'm seeking your votes to serve you without having to buy your vote. So I'll owe you something because you voted me for free. So I'll be committed more as a servant rather than as an entrepreneur who came to buy your vote and expect nothing in return from me.
Because you've already paid for the vote.
Exactly.
How are those challenges different, though, from what older politicians face, people who want to go into politics? Gladys, do you have a perspective on that?
I think the challenges I raised, for example, and I already gave an example of older women. If I talked about the challenge of younger children, then they did not have the challenge of that kind of family issue. Older women are less likely to be associated with issues of you know, you're sleeping with so and so, you're this and that. They're less likely.
But
well, yeah.
Depending on how old is.
No, what don't stop because of age.
as you move up, you know, the ladder, and when I say old, I don't mean that you're out of the youth bracket, because you could be, you know, 40 and still you're still considered quite young, or even 50. You know, you're still considered quite young, but at the older you get, the less that challenge is. The older you get, perhaps the resource challenge gets less. The older you get, your networks become farmer. If you've been in politics longer, you have farmer networks on the ground, and it is these networks that you use to win elections. You know more people and their backgrounds, and what I have seen also among young people is just riding on age alone. If you come and say, I am young, because this is what I see in campaigns, you know, I sort of sit there and you just see someone popping up and say, today it is time for young people. Old people must go back home, you know, and that really just puts off everybody else who was supposed to have voted for you. I think your age should be seen, but should not be something you keep on, you know, thinking of as the only platform. You should raise your issues, raise them well, and then people say, look, this is a young person, but they're quite solid. Yeah, they're quite solid. They quite know what they do. So they end up voting for you on that basis. And I think that is some of the issues that Obu has raised. So I think the challenges probably get less for older people. The challenges that younger people face in politics.
I wish to add something to what Gladys said. Yeah. And that is very key amongst young leaders in Kenya. The only thing, by just saying you are young, you get the vote. So I wish to appeal to young Kenyans who wish to be in leadership. Let be a bridge towards what you can do better for the people. I'll give an example. When I came from the university and went back to the village as a volunteer teacher, I used to wake up at 3 in the morning, beginning with the morning prayers, prepare for my lessons. Then at 5 in the morning, I used to go for my first lesson at a school called Kibiriche Boys. At 6 in the morning, I used to go for my second lesson at Borugiti Primary School. So when I vied to be a member of parliament for Bori, I could easily tell the people of Bori, I am young, energetic, hardworking, and committed. This is what I've been doing. These are the lives I've changed through education. So you have to believe that my youth, you can do more. And even now,
you won the Shujaa Award for education, didn't you?
Yeah, I've won the Shujaa Award. I've won the top 40 under 40. I've won so many awards in my leadership. And even as a young member of parliament, I'm very easily to show. I can easily show the people what I've done with my youth. At parliament, we have the Bunge FC, and every year we come to play in my Bori constituency. I play number 10. And every time we play with my team, we give donations to the people of Bori. In 2015, we played at a place called Timau, the headquarters of Bori, and using our contributions, we raised about 2 million Kenya shillings to help begin a ball manufacturing center for the youth of Bori. Last year, we played again at a place called Kenyanjere in Kerwa, and we could donate computers to Kenyanjere Primary and all the pupils of Bori. So I'm able to show the people of Bori what I can do as a young leader. So don't just depend on the youth. Show what your youth can do.
So it's more of what is seen than what is heard.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. What obstacles do you think, you know, how are the obstacles you're facing different from the obstacles, say, I would face, given that I'm older than you?
Number one, I'd say, a lot of younger people, they believe that they don't have the finances and the resources. Hence, when they have a dream, the dream in politics, they will step back. So for me, I personally believe that if you have a fierce passion, it will quench all other fears, especially for resources. So I believe at your age, number one, resources are minimal. People talk to you with respect. People really talk down at me, they speak down at me, but not everyone. I do understand a lot of it has to do with culture, because, you know, I'm considered a child, where youth, they are considered women who are youth are considered children in my culture, in Kajiado. So especially in the rural Kajiado, you know, there's the urban and the rural. So both in urban and rural, you would be highly respected. People would not talk to you with disrespect. You'd have the resources, and then the older generation also command authority, and also because being a very conservative community, they naturally respect you, and also you command respect at your own. But as a young person, I am expected to be very humble, to listen more than talk or contribute. I could be, if for instance, me and you could be both vying for senator, you'd probably get a seat at the front. Well, for me, probably I'd get a seat in the middle or the back. But in such circumstances, I've learned it is fine to sit with the people and to be with the people. And actually, as a young person, for me, I don't see it as a hindrance at all, because for me, okay, what I'd totally say is that the energy and the energy and the ability and the youth of a young person can go a long way more than what resources, because you can have all the resources of the world, but you don't have the energy to actually enter the ground and transverse the county. For instance, I personally go over 50 kilometers in a day, and I drive myself, and I don't have a driver to get to those grassroots places. My opponents, there are some grassroots areas that they cannot enter. They are older people, they are wealthier and more well off. But for me,
traveling shoppers.
Not necessarily. Maybe
so
some of them do. What I'm trying to say is that what I know is that I'll wear my, I'll get into those grassroots plots, Vijijis, in the whole of Kajiado, and you speak on the people that had one-on-one and heart-to-heart, because politics can never be won with the mind. It's really engaging with the people.
Taking her question, what is it that would be advantageous to her and not to you? And you've just talked about the energy. Are you saying there are places an older person cannot go and a youth person would go?
For instance, if okay, Udwak, I wouldn't really say that she's much older than me.
Thank you.
I wouldn't say she's much older than me, so I wouldn't compare her. Probably someone like my mother's age, or someone who's above 60. She's way younger than that. So if we were to transverse the county, like I personally have 25 wards to transverse and 5 constituencies. So if we were to transverse within, for instance, 1 week, maybe you'd cover 3 wards. I'd do maybe 20. Because I have more networks, more energy, I have less responsibility. Probably you have more responsibility, more family, more children, and as a young person, you have.
Let me just. But look, we've got to take a break now. This is Cheche, and we're live on Citizen TV. We're discussing the political aspirations and access of young people and other marginalized groups ahead of the oldest elections. With young people, and so what we would like to know from you is what you think. Young people form around 80% of the population, and so why are they still underrepresented in politics? Talk to us. Our SMS number is 22422, or you can tweet us using the hashtag Cheche.